Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
They're polite. They just take the time for you.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
I like the Angels for what they've done for me.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching, and thanks as always to the producer of our series, Jeff Durrell. We're at McCartney Hall on the campus of Fort Hays State University, second floor, with the director of the Management Development Center at Fort Hays State University, as she tells us about some upcoming workshops, and particularly one of the facilitators that we'll visit with later on our Community Connection about the first workshop of the spring. Sabrina William, director. Tell us about this Management Development Center first, Sabrina.
Absolutely, Mike. Well, thanks again for having us on the program. We sure enjoy this. But the Management Development Center is truly about bringing training needs and consulting needs to Western Kansas. We really, truly want to help the businesses of Western Kansas, and so we do a number of things as far as public workshops go, private workshops for businesses, or help businesses with consulting needs. Our most popular requests seem to be in the areas of human resource management. We get a lot of requests for marketing assistance and organizational development.
Give us the particulars on this first workshop of this season.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we typically hold a public workshop here on campus at Fort Hays about once a month. It's open to the public, so we see a variety of different business folks come to those. We're kicking off our summer workshop series in May this month, and it's called The Emotionally Intelligent Leader, Understanding Personality and Conflict. So it's quite a long title, but we think it's going to be a wonderful workshop. We've had really good response to it so far. I think we have approximately 18 to 19 already registered for the workshop, and we do have a few more spaces left if anyone is interested, but that is coming up on Tuesday, May 24th, and it's from 1 to 4:30 p.m. here on campus at Fort Hays.
Tell us about how folks can register for this. It's open to anyone in the public, and also particularly those in chamber functions, right?
Yes, absolutely. Good lead-in, Mike. You're so good at this. The workshop is open to anyone in the area. You can register by going to our website. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Credit card payments accepted. It's www.fhsu.edu and then a /MDC for Management Development Center. And of course, the chamber, as you mentioned, chamber members are eligible for a 15% discount on any of our public workshops. So.
Going to be two presenters at this workshop, right, Sabrina?
Yes, absolutely. Jeni McRay and Justin Greenleaf are our two facilitators for this workshop. Both come to us from the Leadership Studies Department here on campus at Fort Hays. Both overly qualified to do this workshop, and we've got a lot of excitement building around it.
Sabrina, thanks for the visit. We'll visit with one of the facilitators, Dr. Jeni McRay, and we'll return to our Community Connection on Eagle Community Television.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
They're polite. They just take the time for you.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
I like the Angels for what they've done for me.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
Dr. Jeni McRay is Assistant Professor of Leadership Studies at Fort Hays State University, one of the co-facilitators of the workshop that's coming up. Registration before May 20th, and you can get information on the website for the Management Development Center at Fort Hays State University. Dr. Jeni McRay will tell us about leadership. And the first question, obviously, Jeni, is to define leadership. What would you define as leadership?
Well, there's a lot of different definitions around leadership, but I would say that leadership is all about relationships and it's about influence. It's an influence process. And so it can be, in leadership is in any organization at any level. We have leaders in business, in government, in nonprofit, in the small business world, in education. But leadership fundamentally is about influence.
And every component that you mentioned has leadership.
Yes.
Tell us about some of the areas you're going to be talking about. You mentioned analyzing personality style models. What's that exactly?
Well, there's actually a long history of really defining what somebody's innate temperament is. There's a rich history base and research and literature base on innate temperament. So and it goes way back to Hippocrates and before. We're not going to get that academic in this workshop, but I do care about a lot of the research and academic base of it, being a professor, and so we'll go over that a little bit, but then really give people a way to, in a very interactive way, define different types of personalities and what that means in a workplace and what that means in teams. We'll talk about extrovert and introvert. We'll talk about people who are big picture global thinkers versus kind of detail, so forest for the trees kind of things. We'll talk about people who are very structured and scheduled versus people who are a little more open and maybe random, if you will. And there's some definitions that go along with this, and there's some different ways to think about it and different models that we will explore in the workshop that will help give people a new language when they go back into their organization, whatever that organization may be, whatever that team may be, to help them understand how people perceive them, and also to help maybe perceive other people in a different way or through a new lens so that they can build better relationships.
So you're actually learning from some of these past models in history then.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
What would be, one of the topics you're talking about is self-assessment. Pretty important for a leader?
Yes, well, and self-awareness, yes. The self-assessments that we'll do in the workshop is more just little mini type quizzes where you answer questions about yourself or your preferences and the way that you perceive yourself. But all of this comes down to really a good leader and even a good follower, any good employee, any good team member, no matter what the team is. If you have a really good awareness of yourself, that's the beginning part of really becoming emotionally intelligent, because then you can't really manage relationships with other people unless you're very self-aware to begin with. So those are the things that we'll be exploring.
I'll bet you've heard this question before. Are leaders born or do they develop?
Yes, that's one of the classic questions in leadership. The trait theory is what it's called. Or there's certain traits that
Thank
people,
you, Professor,
you're
for
welcome.
explaining that. I was wondering what that was.
It's also called the great man theory, if you've heard of that. But that theory, original theory, subscribes to the fact that you either have it or you don't. And what is it? What are those traits that leaders either have or they don't? We do not subscribe to that philosophy necessarily. We believe that leaders can and do develop, and it doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter, gender doesn't matter, location doesn't matter, status doesn't matter, and even your position within an organization necessarily doesn't matter. That leadership happens everywhere, and that leadership is a process, and leadership is you can be developed, and people can learn good tenets of leadership no matter where.
So if they have some of these qualities you talked about earlier, Jenny, that anyone could develop into a leadership role.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, that's comforting for those that'll be attending the workshop.
Yes.
So who determines the successful leader then? Is it the employees? Is it the management? Is it the profitability of the company, if that is the situation?
I think different organizations have a different way of determining positions of people and who and what is success. But the initial answer to your question, the initial thing that I thought of is that the followers determine leaders. So
our producer Jeff Durall brought up a real interesting question about can a leader be a friend of employees? Can there be a dynamic at work here of mutual respect? What's the definition here? How does that go?
I think, again, it depends on the context of the organization. I definitely have seen situations where that may have been a problem in some workplaces, particularly if the person who is in a leadership position is buddies or friends with one or two people, but not some of the other people who work there. That sometimes can be an issue, but it really depends on the relationships, the way that the organization is structured. But I've also seen situations where, yes, you can be among teams of people. I consider my supervisor my friend. And everybody that we work with. We have a very strong and cohesive team in leadership studies. And I definitely would consider my boss my friend, but we're all friends. So it works in that kind of a situation.
But even going back to school years, there are in-groups and there are out-groups. Is that right? Can that occur? And
Yes.
does that even occur in later adult situations?
Yes, and let me tell you what that's called. It's called LMX theory.
Oh, once again, the professor shows her stripes, huh? All right. Well, you're going to have to explain a little of that.
Well, leader-member exchange theory.
Good. Okay.
And it's and I could bore you, but it's all about in-groups and out-groups.
Okay.
And how that plays within organizations.
Which you
but
will-
we're not going to get that academic in this workshop. We're going to have a lot of fun in the workshop.
Well, be sure to mention that at least,
Absolutely.
though,
Absolutely.
for interest's sake. So the workshop itself, through the Management Development Center at Fort Hays State University, we should mention your co-facilitator as
Justin,
well.
yes, he's great. He's going to talk a lot about conflict. So I'm going to talk a lot about personality styles, and we'll have some really interactive things to do. We'll be moving around the room a lot, be a lot of energy there. And then Justin is going to talk about conflict styles.
Which is also a part of the overall mix, if you will, of leadership
Exactly.
abilities,
Because
isn't it?
there's conflict there's always conflict of some sort. So how do you make it productive? What is your normal way that you react in a conflict situation? So we're going to explore those kinds of things as well. And then both of us will be talking at the end about how these things intersect with emotional intelligence and why it's important for people to really develop emotional intelligence through understanding their personality style, their conflict style. Then we're going to actually have them create an action plan so that it's not just about having fun in a workshop for an afternoon, but it's what have they learned that they can take back to their organization and make their organization or their team better functioning.
I can see a lot of energy coming in this workshop for sure. From the Management Development Center, contact Sabrina William at the center, who is the director, or you can go to the website for the Management Development Center. Our thanks to the Associate Professor of Leadership Studies at Fort Hays State University, Dr. Jeni McRay, our Community Connection.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hays and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
And the angel care nurse come to see me once a week.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
Angel care has helped to stay home.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.